Hello students, I am Shahnaz Ansari, your social science teacher. Students, yesterday we started chapter 2 of history from trade to territory, and I have explained you how British East India Company comes for trade and how trade led to battle. I explained you about the famous Battle of Plassey. Now we will see what are our next topic which we are going to learn in this chapter. So today we will be discussed about company rule expands, subsidiary alliance, the legend of Tipu Sultan, war with Marathas, the claim to paramountcy, the doctrine of lapse, setting up a new administration, the company army, and last conclusion. So let's start with company rule expands. Students, between 1757 and 1857, the East India Company annexed various Indian states. Instead of a direct military attack, it used political, economic, and diplomatic methods to influence the states. They followed different patterns while occupying the Indian states. It started from the appointments of residents. Who were these residents? After the Battle of Buxar, the company appointed residents in Indian states. They were political or commercial agents, and their job was to serve for the company. Who were residents? They were the political and commercial agents, and their jobs was to serve for the company. Residents began to interfere in the internal affairs of the Indian state. They tried to decide who was to be the successor to the throne, who would be appointed in administrative post. Soon the company forced the state into subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance. According to this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent army. Rather, they were to be protected by the company and had to pay for the subsidiary forces provided by the company. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of their territory was taken away. For example, Awadh and Hyderabad were forced to cede territories on this ground. Lord Wellesley followed this policy of expansion of British power in India. Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan, also known as the Tiger of Mysore. Mysore became powerful under the rulers like Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Hyder Ali realized the danger posed by English to India, and to meet the challenges started to modernize his army with the help of French. After his death, Tipu Sultan continued with the policy of his father and trained his army on European lines. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamoms. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom. He also disallowed local merchants from trading with company. He established a close relationship with the French traders. The East India Company fought 4 wars with Mysore. In 1767 to 69, second in 1780 to 1784, third war 1790 to 1792, and the last war was 1799. Only in the last battle, the Battle of Seringapatam in 1799, the company ultimately won the war. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Seringapatam. Mysore was placed under Wadiyar's dynasty and a subsidiary alliance was imposed. So it was all about the story of Tipu Sultan. Now next is war with Marathas. The company tried to destroy the Maratha power from the late 18th century. The Marathas were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to dynasties like Sindhya, Holkar, Gaikwad and Bhosle. They were held together in an association called Confederacy under a Peshwa who belonged to Pune. Mahaji Sindhya and Nana Fadnis were two famous Maratha statesmen of the late 18th century. The Marathas were subdued in a series of wars. In the First Anglo-Maratha War that ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai, there was no clear victor. The Second Anglo-Maratha War was fought on different fronts, resulting in the British gaining Orissa and the territories north of the Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. Finally, the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 1819 crushed Maratha power. The Peshwa was removed and sent away to Bittur near Kanpur with a pension. The company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas. Students, now we will see what is the claim to paramountcy. Under Governor General Lord Hastings, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. According to this policy, the company claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme and its power was greater than that of Indian state. The British took control of Afghanistan, Sindh and Punjab and secured their control over Northwest. This process, however, did not go unchallenged. For example, when the British tried to annex the small state of Kittur, nowadays in Karnataka, Rani Chennamma took to arms and led to an anti-British resistance movement. She was arrested in 1824 and died in prison in 1829. After her death, a poor chowkidar of Sangoli in Kittur carried on the resistance. With popular support, he destroyed many British camps and records. He was caught and hanged by the British in 1830. The British now wanted to secure their control over the Northwest. They fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842 and established indirect company rule there. Sindh was taken over in 1843. Next in a line was Punjab, but the presence of Maharaja Ranjit Singh held back the company. After his death in 1839, two prolonged wars were fought with the Sikh kingdom. Ultimately, in 1849, Punjab was annexed. Students, now next we will understand the doctrine of lapse. The final wave of annexation occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. He devised a policy that came to be known as Doctrine of Lapse. The doctrine declared that if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse, that is, become part of company territory. It means that if any of the rulers of the princely states in India did not have a natural heir, Her or his kingdom was annexed by East India Company. Lord Dalhousie started applying the doctrine in the state, the rulers of which had no heirs like in the case of Jhansi. He refused to accept the adopted son of the famous Rani of Jhansi as her legal heir. And in the case of Nana Sahib Peshwa, who was the adopted son of the Peshwa, he stopped his annual pension. One kingdom after another was annexed simply by applying this doctrine, like Satara in 1848, Sambalpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Nagpur in 1853, and Jhansi in 1854. Finally, in 1856, the company also took over Awadh. This time, the British had an added argument. They said that they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of the Nawab. Enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed, the people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857.